Dallasites are fighting to cancel an event slated for the city called the God Country Patriot Roundup. The name is a bit of a misnomer to Colleen Morgan, a Dallas resident.
I mean, patriots are people who love the country, but these people are putting like a person above the country and a person above the Constitution, and they're not true patriots to me.
Morgan hopes a petition she started will get the event canceled. You're listening to the CobCast. I'm Cobb, and this is the cast. The Forgotten Country Patriot Roundup, scheduled for May 28th through the 31st, will be hosted in part by the Omni Hotel in Dallas. The event will feature such speakers as Army Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, the former National Security Advisor to Trump, as well as Sidney Powell, the former Flynn and Trump lawyer. Both have continued to assert the claim that the presidential election was stolen from Trump and given attention to other QAnon conspiracies. The FBI has called QAnon a domestic terrorist threat. It revolves around the baseless idea that there is a deep state controlled by Hollywood elites, political and industry insiders, all acting against Trump. Some of the proceeds from the event will go to the political nonprofit Defending the Republic, which Powell founded while contesting the presidential election results. No one from the nonprofit responded for comment. Just as a side note, it was recently alleged that Powell was using funds from the nonprofit to pay for personal legal expenses. Colleen Morgan describes herself as a progressive, left-leaning independent.
I'm not a Trumper at all and never have been. I saw that scam from the beginning of when he ran. I wouldn't say I'm Democrat, but I definitely am an independent, progressive voter, and I lean left for sure.
A friend of Morgan sent her an article about the convention. That's how she heard about it. The more she thought about the QCon, the more she wondered,
why is the city of Dallas, the Omni Hotel, which is owned by the city, allowing this big lie to continue?
She figured all of the conspiracy theories that thrived during the Trump administration would fade away after he lost the election. Unfortunately for everyone, she was wrong. To be clear, the event is being organized by a group called the Patriot Voice, which doesn't seem to have much of an identity outside of this convention. However, the logo for the event features an acronym which stands for Where We Go One, We Go All, a QAnon mantra cribbed from the 1996 film White Squall. Additionally, figures associated with the baseless QAnon conspiracy theories are scheduled to speak at the event. Morgan said the Dallas police are already overtasked. There's a chance for counter-protests, and although vaccines are being rolled out, there's still a pandemic going on. For these reasons, Morgan said, it's just not a good idea. The Dallas Police Department did not respond for comment about plans to monitor and patrol the event. Morgan said she doesn't necessarily have a problem with these kinds of events being hosted at a private venue, but she doesn't agree with hosting it at a venue that is partially city-owned. Even if there weren't safety concerns, Morgan said the event just isn't a good look for Dallas.
It's a terrible look for our city. QAnon it's lies. I mean, it's conspiracy theories, and it's not true. And why would Dallas, who already are, we have our political stains, starting with JFK being assassinated here, why would we want to be associated with this?
The Dallas event is also concerning to her, considering how many North Texans have been identified as participants in the January 6th events at the Capitol.
So this kind of an event just continues to perpetrate the, quote, big lie.
And by the big lie, she means the baseless claims that the election was stolen from Trump. Curious if others felt the same way, she put together a petition to try to get the event canceled. She chose to use a petition because she suspects a counter-protest may spark violence. Ultimately, she hopes her petition will lead to the event being canceled. However, the minimum she hopes to get out of it is more answers from the city about why they're letting the event take place. A spokesperson for the city sent me this statement. The city of Dallas is a welcoming city, bringing together people of many varied interests and ideas. As always, we will do our best to ensure Dallas residents and guests attending this event are safe while in our city. Depending on how you look at it, there could be up to 1 million reasons Dallas likely won't take a harder stance on the event. The circumstances are a little different, but in 2016, the Exotica Pornography and Adult Industry Expo was slated for the Big D. The folks at City Hall weren't happy about it. They banned the event from taking place and were later sued by Exotica founder Jay Handy. Yes, that is his real name. Dallas settled, coughing up $650,000 to Handy and the company. The settlement and legal fees cost the city upwards of $1 million. Morgan doesn't see this as a free speech and censorship issue, though. She used to operate a local zine centered around music, arts, and culture in Deep Ellum in the 90s called Buzzmonger. She describes the zine and the way she operated it as anti-censorship.
However, there is a big difference between blatant lies that are harmful and free speech.
For the hotel's part, it had this to say in an emailed statement. As a hospitality company, Omni Hotels and Resorts provides public accommodations and function space for many organizations, none of which reflects or indicates an endorsement for any group or individual. Outside of Gab, Parler, and some other fringe sites, it's hard to track down the people behind the controversial event. As it turns out, the QAnon-affiliated 3-day convention is reportedly being organized by a Q power couple, John Sabal, also known as QAnon John, and his partner Amy. Neither could be reached for comment. They announced the event on Andre Popa's Who's a Badass show. Popa's one of the speakers scheduled to appear at the event, but he didn't respond for comment either. Sabal was interviewed for an article by Business Insider last year. In September 2020, Sabal and his girlfriend were under a white tent adorned with a Q banner in a Pennsylvania parking lot outside of a Donald Trump campaign rally. It's unclear if the girlfriend in the article is Amy. He's described as a devoted follower of the debunked online conspiracy theory QAnon, who would spend his free time on Twitter, Facebook, and Parler spreading the theories. After building a following under the name QAnon John, Sabal found himself kicked off Facebook and Twitter. He said they are now trying to rebrand as the Patriot Voice. Followers of the conspiracy theory have recently started saying, there is no QAnon. I received around 100 emails from people saying as much. As Vice explains, this isn't followers realizing the whole thing was a sham. The reality is that the surface-level QAnon disavowal is an effort by high-profile influencers to distance the conspiracy theory from the past few months of negative media coverage, the article read. But Sabal and Amy aren't shy about QAnon. They make several mentions to it when promoting the event in Dallas on Popa's show. When the couple met, Amy was deeper down the rabbit hole, she said on the show. Sabal knew about the supposed New World Order, the government controlling the weather, and plots to depopulate the planet. He was a Trump supporter from day one, attending the quote-unquote first inauguration. But Amy said Sabal didn't know things like, for example, that John McCain was put to death. McCain actually died in 2018, the day after his family announced he'd stopped receiving treatment for his cancer. Amy spent a lot of nights researching and going deeper. She would tell Sabal who to follow to learn more. Sabal said, what she did was, she opened me up to the world of Anons and the wonderful number 17. Q is the 17th letter in the alphabet, if you were wondering what the significance was. Through her quote-unquote research journey, Amy found like minds, but a lot of those connections have been lost since the presidential election. They tried to plan a cruise, but said the excursion has been postponed until 2022. So, they decided to do something on land. This is how the Dallas event was born, and Sabal has some pretty high expectations for it. He said he wants to make the Conservative Political Action Conference look like a puppy show. They say they chose Dallas for a few reasons. They want to move here, their church is here, and it's a good central location. Sabal said they put together the event in less than 2 months. I still don't understand how we did it, except for the good Lord above, a favor of God, he said. They locked down the contracts, but things haven't gone exactly according to plan since. Most of the event, besides a meet and greet at the Omni, was originally supposed to take place at Gilley's. They liked Gilley's because it was in the movie Urban Cowboy and because Trump had his 2016 Dallas campaign stop there. The max occupancy in the ballroom is 1,500 people. They also said the Omni Hotel was very easy to work with and gave them a special rate of $149 a night. Sabal said they went all out and spared no expense. It's $500 for general admission and $1,000 for VIP. The beginning of the 1776 revolution starts at Gilley's, Sabal said. The event keeps getting bigger and bigger. There are even some prominent Texans on the bill, including Texas GOP Chairman Allen West and U.S. Rep. Louis Gohmert. However, Gilley's confirmed to me, for my article in the Dallas Observer, that the event will no longer be taking place there. They wouldn't say why. Sabal and Amy have since said they found a new venue, but will only be telling ticket holders where it is closer to Memorial Day weekend. In an interview the same day my story came out confirming the couple needed to find a new location, Sabal and Amy said they pulled out of Gilley's because of pressure the venue was facing. During their appearance on the Patriot Transition Voice web show, they said they found a new place, but were keeping their lips shut about it. However, 2 details were mentioned during the show that could point to some possibilities for the new venue. For one, Amy said they needed to cut the event capacity from 1,500 to 1,000. One of the show's hosts, who is also a speaker at the event, said the new venue is actually closer to the Omni than Gilley's. It's still unclear where the bulk of the event will be hosted. This wouldn't be the first time one of the Q couple's events fell to pieces, though. As I mentioned before, they also tried to plan the For God and Country Victory Cruise, dubbed a Trump Victory Cruise. Of course, Trump lost the election last November, but that didn't stop the couple from trying to move forward with the cruise. They used the same website and similar messaging, with all the Q references, for what was supposed to be a 4-day event. If everything had gone according to plan, they would have set sail from New York to Bermuda in April. The tickets for the event were reportedly around $250. Needless to say, their plans didn't pan out. Several months before they were to set sail, Bermuda Minister of Transport Lawrence Scott said he was completely unaware of the cruise, according to the Royal Gazette. The government was hoping the cruise ship industry would be able to return to the island in April and start recovering from the pandemic. We already put out the cruise ship schedule to our stakeholders, and the cruise you mentioned was not on that list, nor, in checking with Marine and Ports, have any other applications come in, Scott said at a press conference. At this point in time, we are not aware of any official Trump cruise that is coming in. It's still unclear what the confusion was over the planning of the cruise, but the couple hasn't completely ditched the idea. Wherever the Dallas convention happens, the event will be stacked with a cast of wacky speakers. Most recently, organizers added Judy Mikovits to the list. Mikovits is the discredited virologist who starred in the conspiracy video and film Plandemic, which promoted misinformation about COVID-19. So that's just a little taste of what to expect if you'll be attending this thing. We're about a week out from the event, and there's no signs of it being nipped in the bud. The city has since told the media that they've been in contact with the FBI and local law enforcement about the Forgotten Country Patriot Roundup. So, come Memorial Day weekend, we'll just have to see what happens. And I'll be sure to let you know what does. I'm Jacob Vaughn, a journalist based out of North Texas. Some people call me Cobb. And this is the CobCast. Thanks for listening.